In a world of rising prices, Nissan is lowering them on our two most popular SUVs, the Pathfinder and Rogue. From our U.S. factories to your driveway since 1983.
No doctor would ever use mind control.
Oh, I would for sure.
Well, yeah, obviously we would, but we need to set an example.
Mixed Tiles is all about finding creative ways to share your family story.
It's like a living photo album in a way.
You peel off the back, stick these up, and make small adjustments. Mixed Tiles has allowed me to do something that I probably wouldn't have been able to do.
I agree.
A lot of times when we take photos of things, it's like nice, but we lose track of it because it's something they pass every day. They just have this connection where they're sharing experiences.
They see themselves and they feel loved. That's what I want.
Yeah, that was nice.
Thanks.
If Joshua invited something negative in here, either on purpose or by mistake.
Oh. That room is significant because that is where Joshua allegedly saw this demonic shadow figure.
There are a couple of demonic spirits. I've seen one of them a long time ago.
Something has come in here and interacted with us. I think it was Charlie, because anytime we asked for Charlie, we would get a response. So that tells me it's one of two things. It's either not as negative as Joshua thinks it is, and it's something else, or it's attached to a person.
Perhaps him.
Would be him. If he's the one who interacted with it, if he's the one that calls it that demon, if he's the one that comes down here, burns incense and speaks Latin, it would be him. It's interesting because I think initially when Jack and I came here, we heard about Alice and we fully expected, okay, these are the spirits we're going to investigate. This is who we're going to interact with.
No.
But Alice's story, to me, it always struck me as odd. A murder-suicide in the 1930s, there'd be some evidence of that happening. So that being said, I'm not saying people haven't experienced the spirits. I just think maybe we don't have the story right. Mm-hmm. Has anybody ever come to you saying they were woken up in the middle of the night feeling violated?
Yes.
What have they said to you?
A woman who was a guest here described there was no one in the room. This is an invisible presence, and she was being pressed onto the bed.
Interesting.
I was in Alice's room investigating. We had a camera operator with us and one of our producers with us, and we were using an audio device. We specifically heard the name Alice come through 3 times.
Wow.
And then we kept getting the word rape come through multiple times.
Rape?
Rape.
Wow. It was really rough back in the frontier here in the beginning, and so I'm sure that women were treated roughly.
One of our production assistants had a dream about Alice, and in that dream, Alice told her she was misunderstood.
Misunderstood? Oh, I'm getting cold chills.
I think we should talk about your experiences in your room.
Yeah. So in 315, I think I experienced what you described as that spiritual highway through the 3rd floor. Any time that we were communicating, it would send us in different places on the floor. Yeah, there's something up there for sure. It felt like standing in on a busy street.
I went downstairs to the basement with our producer Elaine, because we're both females, and you had said specifically that Charlie doesn't necessarily like females down in the basement. We had a device that tests for temperature and motion. Now Elaine and I, we were standing perfectly still. We would ask for Charlie to come forward, and this device would light up and beep, which indicates that something in that area is moving. And it would only happen when we asked for Charlie. Just from that session alone, we can say Charlie is here in some form.
Yeah.
With that, Jack was checking through our footage, and he found something that we want to show you.
Sure. So let me explain to you this technology. This is a very new camera, and what it does is it overlays where there's movement in a single shot. It will only pick up on things that essentially trip it off. Check this out. See that? And then
Wow. Look at, and there are 2 more. No, that's I've seen that before. Yes.
Me too, yes. I kind of looked up one time and I thought, what is that? And it was that.
The only other time I've seen something similar where it's like an anomaly of a shadow show up on a camera usually has ties to demonic hauntings. We actually think there might be a couple reasons why that has been seen.
Yeah. And you were explaining some of the things that have occurred here, some of the rituals that took place here. And so I'm just curious about, have you ever participated in any of the kind of more nefarious?
Unwittingly. This isn't something I really like to talk about, but I dated a girl once whose mother was using black magic to control her family. And I knew this. Very foolishly, I remained in a relationship with her for almost a year. During that time, her mother somehow managed to get a hold of a piece of hair or an object that belonged to me. And the reason I know this is because her daughter had a dream. She woke up and then saw a demonic figure with my head. I woke up simultaneously, and I was living in room 223 at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so there's our missing piece of the puzzle. Like, I mean, that's really helpful information.
Yeah.
Through the course of our investigation, we found out that Joshua's been involved in some stuff willingly and unwillingly. He kind of opened himself up more than he intended to, and maybe that's allowing some of these things to come through and make communication. But I think moving forward, you in particular, you have to be really careful. Typically, in my experience, and I think in your experience too, we haven't seen that end very well for people.
No.
It seems like I've got my homework ahead of me
You
for that
definitely
one.
do, yeah.
I really certainly do. You've done more than I ever expected.
It's been an adventure.
Absolutely has. I mean, wow. I was not expecting what we got out of this journey, so thank you. This hotel, has housekeepers. It's a hotel. They just need to bring in a spiritual housekeeper more often than not. What's your thoughts of the Alaskan Hotel?
I kept feeling like we were chasing something and we didn't get in until the very end, right as we were checking out.
So true. Josh is a pretty unique individual, and whatever's going on here, it's drawn to him. Is this place a portal to hell? I'll say yeah, for sure.
Okay, if you're strong enough to show yourself, then show me.
Oh, what was that?
Holy.
Is this place a portal to hell? That's Bones. Serious?
He believes that you're demonic. So this should really piss you off.
All right, so we're in Mansfield, Ohio, and we're going to the Ohio State Reformatory.
It is probably one of the most iconic locations in the paranormal community. But what's really cool is that we have exclusive access to places in the prison that have never been investigated for TV before.
Exciting! Let's get to it. We're gonna have a good one.
We got a lot ahead of us.
Yes, we do. My favorite thing about this place is it's actually one of the locations used in Shawshank Redemption. The actual prison was built in 1886.
It started as a reformatory,
Mm-hmm.
and it was that for a very, very long time for the youth to be there, to reform them. And then in the 70s, it's when it officially converted over to a maximum security prison. And then it was shut down in 1990.
So some of the accounts of why this place got shut down was really crimes against humanity.
Mm-hmm.
They were heavily understaffed. Prisoners were killing each other left, right, and center. To this day, they're still finding shanks and shivs in certain areas. And then there's reports of like full-blown torture taking place.
People have been experiencing kind of the whole checklist of paranormal activity here at this prison for decades. Voices, apparitions, cell doors slamming on their own. The spaces that have never been investigated for television before, apparently they are very active, and volunteers here are extremely uncomfortable being over there.
Yeah, the people that have worked here seem to think that the activity is getting more and more negative.
In those rooms.
Whoa! Holy this is rad.
Look at that bad boy.
It looks like a castle.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? For the most part, I don't like investigating prisons. It is one of the most uncomfortable feelings to investigate.
This is awesome.
I always kind of feel like a piece of me. I feel like somebody is staring down at me. And it is a very oppressing, negative, invasive feeling. What do you think?
It's an impressive building. If you know you're gonna, as you pull up to somewhere, you're like, I'm spending years in that building. I think that's a mine.
Do you want to see inside?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. I'm excited to see this. Jack and I are about to meet with Kathy and Greg, who are volunteers here at the prison, but they are also paranormal investigators. Hello.
Hi, I'm
nice to
Kathy.
meet you. They've investigated this place many times, and they also know a lot of the history.
Welcome to the historic Ohio State Reformatory.
Thank you.
It did start out as a reformatory back in the late 1800s for young, nonviolent offenders. There could be kids here 13, 14 years old, all the way up to, the 30s. You see the design of the building, it looks like a castle.
Mm-hmm.
The architect wanted to put this sense of dread into these young offenders. When they're coming down the drive, they were like, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be spending my time here.
And so then we see it turning over into violent offenders at some point. When did that happen?
Slowly, in the 60s, and by the 70s, it was total maximum security prison, and the conditions here were bad.
At its height, how many people were kept here?
Like 3,000. Wow. And it was only built for 1,000 inmates. The inmates filed a petition with the state saying that this was cruel and inhuman punishment because they basically spent 23 hours a day in their cells. So they won their lawsuit, and then the state built new prisons. So we're going to take you to different hot spots inside the prison.
All right, lead the way.
This was the living quarters for the superintendent and his family. There was a tragic event here that occurred in 1950. There was a woman by the name of Helen Gladkey. She was in that closet right there. It was Sunday morning, she was getting ready for church. She was reaching for a box, and her husband's handgun was on top of the box. It fell, discharged, and struck her in the lung. She died a few days later at a local hospital, but Helen is still here.
How do you know she's here?
She had this rose-scented perfume that she used to make, and as you're walking anywhere on the second floor, you'll smell rose water.
That's so weird. I literally came up and I was like, oh, who's doused themselves in perfume?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I just figured it was someone I was walking behind.
That was our very first paranormal experience here, was smelling the roses.
On the second floor.
Really?
The second floor, yeah.
Does anything else happen in here?
You will get activity out here. I'll be by the steps here, and I'll hear walking around upstairs. It'll sound like chains, like there's chains being dragged on the floors.
Where we're going up next, the third floor, I don't like it.
And I agree with Greg on that. It has a completely different feel up there.
Yeah.
This is like Creepy, active, the whole floor.
Is it
everything.
negative? Do you guys
Yes.
think it's negative up here?
There's something up here.
You feel it right now?
I feel it right now. My whole body is tingling. I don't know if it's negative or not, but I know it's very active. I would like to play a quick audio clip of something that we captured up here. It scared the crap out of us. We could not figure out what the noise was.
Wow. Did we find the source?
No, we searched every room, down the hallway. There was nothing. Now we're gonna head to one of the other hot spots, the west attic. So, if you'll follow me. In 1930, there was a major fire at the Ohio Penitentiary in Columbus. Some 312 inmates died there. Since the prison down there was like demolished, they needed a place to put some of the other inmates. So a bunch of them came here. Now, 1930, this was still a reformatory for nonviolent offenders. Now they're bringing all these felons, murders, rapists, and this is where they housed them. So a lot of violence, rapes, assaults.
It's like a Thunderdome.
Yes. Watch your step coming up
Yeah,
here.
there's a ramp there, so watch your step.
Whoa.
It's pitch black.
Holy.
And it's never been investigated on
It
television
has
before?
never been investigated on television. You guys are going to be the first.
So there would have been 300 people in here.
Yeah,
Not sequestered in cages, nothing,
Nope.
just like.
they had to run, and they were crazy. That's why this place is crazy. I was standing right about here when all of a sudden I felt a presence in front of me that was very strong and very uncomfortable. I could feel that it had a sleazy feel to it, and then all of a sudden I felt myself be touched inappropriately. Another woman investigating with me, she goes, "There's something sleazy up here, and I don't like how it feels. I'm leaving."
Do a lot of other people feel that way?
There's women up here that feel uncomfortable. It's gotten a lot more active up here.
When did that start?
I would say probably within the past year.
Has it changed too as far as like being more aggressive?
I'm glad you just said that.
Yeah.
There was one person that I know of who was up here provoking. And then he started feeling this burning sensation on his back. And when they lifted up his shirt, that's what they...
Whoa. That's significant. You know what that almost looks like? It looks like when you see like prison fights and they just start slashing
Yeah.
each other with like shanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're just going to walk around East Cell Block.
Holy crap. This place is huge.
This is the largest freestanding cell block in the world.
This is unreal.
It's 6 tiers high. If you took the walls down and the roof, it would still be standing. The cells are very small. They're 8 by 5.5 feet wide. Sometimes, there were 3 to a cell, depending on overcrowding situations. And actually, they used to hold death row inmates here, too. Up on the 4th tier, cell number 13, which is down that way. James Lockhart, he was about 25 years old, and he was denied parole. He became despondent, went back into his cell. He stole some flammable liquid from one of the shops, shut the door, and doused himself, and then lit himself on fire.
It's a horrible death.
Yeah.
And people think he's here?
People think he's here. All right, right now we're going to be heading into... Did you just touch me?
No. Did you just get touched? I don't think I touched
Something
you.
grabbed my arm.
I didn't grab you. No, my hands were like this.
Something grabbed my arm right there.
入れていようと必ずその欺瞞の代償を払わせる。今日はいい月夜だ。
The NWSL is the most competitive league in the world.
Oh man, the league has grown and it's awesome to see.
This is our big moment.
No doctor would ever use mind control.
Oh, I would for sure.
Well, yeah, obviously we would, but we need to set an example.
우선 빅데이터 이혼 예측 모델을 만들까 해요.
그런데 이혼도 위험 보장이 필요한 사건이라는 것부터 설득해야 하지 않을까요?
이상한 기류가 느껴지는 건 나만 그런 건가?
만약 인생을 다시 뜰 수 있다면 난 기준이를 다시 잡을래요. 과연 임원회의 통과가 될까요?
조건부 승인이 났어.
그게 조건이라고요? 목표가 아니고?
그 정도면 거의 보호망 수준 아니에요?
이거 어떻게 할 수 있을까?
Right now we're going to be heading into... Did you just touch me?
No. Did you just get touched? I don't think I touched
Something
you.
grabbed my arm.
I didn't grab you. No, my hands were like this.
Something grabbed my arm right there.
Greg feels like he got touched on the arm. I mean, my hands were clearly not touching him. I mean, he's investigated this place for almost 20 years, so I'm going to trust his judgment on that one.
So where to now, Greg?
I'm going to radio Hallie to take you down to the creepy, dungy sub-basement. I don't go down there.
I don't either.
It's almost like going down into a dungeon. That's a crazy, crazy active location.
I've been touched down there. I don't need to go there.
All right, well, let's get Hallie.
Greg to Hallie, can we meet you at the entrance to the sub-basement, please?
Sure, we'll be down at you.
This is Hallie.
Hi, how's it going, Jack?
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Katrina.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Jack.
Hi, I'm Elena.
Nice to meet you, Elena.
Nice to meet you. And what are your guys' positions here?
So I'm the program and outreach coordinator here, and so I do head up the paranormal program.
And I'm a tour guide here, but I'm a fourth-generation employee. So my great-great-grandfather was one of the first guards. My grandpa was captain of the guard. My grandma was first female employee.
Whoa.
My dad works here too, so I've been around it my whole life.
Wow. Should we go check out the creepy basement
Yeah,
then?
let's go check out the sub-basement. All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a doozy.
It kind of hits you as soon as you get to the bottom of the stairs.
Ooh. And it's never been investigated on camera before?
Yes. So this was the original solitary confinement. It was called the 8x8. You would be shackled to the floor for 8 hours, shackled standing up for 8 hours, and then that on repeat for as long as you were here.
That's horrible.
Yes. Back here in these corners, you would have had what was the original hole.
This is the hole? Or that is the hole?
The hole is actually below us. The original solitary confinement was literally a hole in the ground with dirt walls, dirt floor. There was a door on the top. You'd climb down, they'd shut the door, and you were in the hole.
Jeez.
Do you guys have any idea when the hole was covered?
The rumor is that there were 2 inmates that were in the hole, and we had gotten a whole bunch of rain that night, and the runoff came from the windows, and it filled up the hole, and then those 2 inmates drowned, and shortly after that, the hole caved in.
Oh. So have you guys investigated down here before?
Yes.
What's happened to you guys?
The most terrifying experience I've had in my 3 years of being here, I came down, got my hair pulled.
Oh, wow.
And it was in the back of my head, and it pulled downward, and it was such force that it threw my head backwards.
Wow.
And I cried immediately. I didn't return for a couple days after that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
What about you, Hallie?
I was with a few investigators. Suddenly there was just a full body apparition that stepped in front of the doorway and it blocked out the light. It was a shadow. It was a full figure. You could make out a head and shoulders, very, very tall and just pitch black. But it was just such a threatening feeling because that was our only way out. And then it just sort of stepped away and dissipated.
Wow.
Well, love the place. When can I put in my application? The problem with this job is that everything is so doom and gloom. Sometimes I just feel like making jokes brightens up my mood. I don't know. I can't wait till we do a show where we look for unicorns.
So why do you guys think this space is so haunted?
I think just because this was like true human suffering down here. And I think that does leave a lasting mark.
What would Jack and I have to do to capture evidence down here?
Just choose a spot and sit quietly down here. Chances are you will have some sort of experience.
I'm being like deadly honest. Prisons like freak me out because like of anywhere we go to, I'm like, no, there was legitimately bad people here and there's actual documentation of death. It just adds an element of like seriousness.
Jack and I are going to go meet with Mike Humphrey, who's a former inmate here in the East Cell Block.
This is number 4.
This was yours.
I spent 12 months in this cell. I came here in 1969, and I was released in September of 1970.
How old are you?
I was 18 years old.
Oh my gosh, you were a baby. What were the conditions like living here?
It was very, very violent here. When you stepped outside this cell door, you better have that third eye in the back of your head because the guys you need to be concerned with was the guys behind you, not the ones in front of you.
Were you ever attacked?
I was in several fights here, you know, and I was very fortunate. I was 6'1", 185 pounds, and I wasn't taking a lot of crap from anybody.
Yeah.
Did you have any weapons that you would carry when you were a prisoner?
I did carry a shank.
You made it yourself?
I did.
What'd you make it out of?
Just a piece of metal.
Did you ever have to use it?
No, thankfully.
Yeah.
Was it just people testing people just to see who they could take advantage of kind of thing?
You're either predator or prey.
Did you ever have any experiences with the paranormal when you were a prisoner here?
Just one. I used to sleep on the top bunk here. One night, I heard keys. And so I turned around and I waited for the guard. And I heard him coming, and he's walking by here. He walked right by my cell and kept on going, but there wasn't anybody there.
Wow.
Weird.
And the thing that really sealed it was less than a half hour later, the guard actually come by doing the bed check.
Oh, wow. Is this one of the most haunted areas of the building?
Yes, and I seem to have a little bit of an attraction.
Do you think it's because you're a former inmate?
I'm only assuming that maybe they see me as one of them.
What other paranormal experiences have you had?
2000, my son was with me, and we were standing on the steps getting ready to go down into the central guard room, and a lady come walking out of the room down at the end of the hall. She had a full green ball gown on. She had her hair up, looked like she was from the turn of the century. And I just said to her, I said, ma'am, are you lost? And she turned to the right, and she took one step, and she totally vanished.
Wow, so she looked solid and human.
Oh, she was.
Why do you think this place is so haunted?
We have 278 confirmed deaths here. So if you're wondering if maybe a couple of them are still here, absolutely.
So we've got a good sense of the history of this place from an inmate's perspective, from the paranormal investigators' side of things. And so now it's about kind of piecing together all that information and figuring out what's haunting this place and why. So now it's time to run cables and set up for the night investigation. Look at that. It's an insane amount of ground to cover, and it's also like terrifying. So we've kind of narrowed it down to 4 general locations. The Eastern Block, where I'm at right now. Cool. The Warden's living quarters. The West Attic. Those 2 locations have never been investigated on film before.
different feel up there.
What?
Did you breathe out?
No. No.
That was really loud. I would say we can try a ghost box session where Helen was fatally injured. Okay, Helen, if you're still here, they say that you still haunt these hallways. If you're still here, we'd love to chat with you.
Mixed House is all about finding creative ways to share your family story.
It's like a living photo album in a way.
You peel off the back, stick these up, and make small adjustments. Mixed Tiles has allowed me to do something that I probably wouldn't have been able to do.
I agree.
A lot of times when we take photos of things, it's like nice, but we lose track of it because it's something they pass every day. They just have this connection where they're sharing experiences.
They see themselves and they feel loved. That's what I want.
Yeah, that was nice.
Thanks.
Heck of a way to kick off NASCAR on Prime. Coke 600 has been winning Memorial Day weekend. It's red, white, and blue. Never won by you. Crew chief's got to keep gas in the tank. Green flag flying here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
All the veterans, those that are serving today. Now is why we're here. Now's the time. Let's do it.
NASCAR, it's on Prime. Come on.
Stream the Coca-Cola 600 Sunday. Don't miss the new original series Earnhardt.
Is the most competitive league in the world. Oh man, the league has grown and it's awesome to see.
This is our big moment.
Ellen, are you the woman in the green?
Did you just hear that?
Heard that.
Did you die here?
Is there something negative up here? Do you know Greg and Kathy?
questions. Can you bang once for yes and twice for no? Are you a prisoner who died here? Are you a god who died here?
That definitely picked up on our mics. There's no way that didn't.
Scott, is that you?
Who just opened the door?
Did somebody just open the door?
We did not.
Nobody opened the door. They're saying no.
What door, though?
This sounded like a door squeaking open,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Scott, where are you? Scott, was that you that opened the door? That was loud.
Let's go down the level and check it out.
And no one's here, right? Just us. There's no wind either, which is interesting. It could have been one of these doors opening or closing. There's probably 1,000 doors here.
Yeah. That was you. Can you open up the cell door again?
Hey, what's up?
Just let you know if I'm down another level.
Copy that.
I mean, it's insane how long
It's huge.
I think we need to change it.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, I'm.
Solo experiment.
He's one of our witnesses. He was actually a prisoner here. Laying in bed at night, and he heard a prison guard walk right past him.
I heard him coming and he was walking by here. He walked right by my cell and kept on going.
If anything's here with us right now, can you come and activate my little Can you make that react right now? Is the prison guard that might hurt here still? No, you making sure everyone gets off tonight. Everyone I've spoken to and everyone that we've met here claims this place is incredibly haunted. Why didn't you show yourself to us? Alright, that's better. Do this again. Okay. Are you in the cell with us right now? Make that light up again. Did you commit suicide here? Someone coming in here. Moving out into the hallway. Wait. Is there a shadow moving down there?
few times.
Someone touched her.
Do that. You show me you have power? I want to know the last time you were with a woman. Want to feel my hair?
She's a married woman.
Are you strong enough to show yourself? I am. Okay, if you're strong enough to show yourself, then show me.
What was that?
Holy. Hey, Katrina. Just come down to base camp.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, we did. Okay, watch this mist. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
No one was really moving around. It was the only time it happened.
Huh.
Call it.
Playing into that, you have been very weird for us.
This is true.
So did you go down the basement yet?
No, yeah.
You're gonna do it? I think you should for this reason. It's the original solitary. Men have to be working down there. They're living alone. I think anybody's gonna have to drop down there.
So I'm going to be going down to the area that was the original solitary confinement. It's never been investigated on camera before.
I don't think Jack's happy about this situation. There seems to be some very negative, aggressive experiences down here.
I don't like this. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this.
This is where a lot of men would have come, and supposedly they were tortured.
Very nervous. I don't really like doing the alone in the dark thing. All right, so is anything in the basement with me? Is there a prisoner down here? Is there a guard down here? You run the show. I'm in your house. So still in here. Thought I just had movement. I'm very nervous right now. Can just like hear my heart pounding. Whoa. Definitely just saw some shadow movement. My eyes are fully playing tricks on me.
Hey, Jack. How you doing down there?
Oh, I'm freaking out. Yeah, I definitely don't feel comfortable down here. Like, I'm just taking everything in me to just not walk out. I don't want to spend any more time than I have to down here. Hold it together, Jack. Hold it together.
We have to get down there. He's freaking out.
I feel like something's in here.
All right, let's go.
Actually, the hair on my back of the neck is just like standing on end. Like freaking out.
Jack? Jack?
Ooh, nasty.
Is it bad?
I wouldn't even worry about it because Prize Picks is hooking you up with $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup.
Think I need a second opinion.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. You may not ever ball again.
Never.
But on the bright side, Prize Picks still got you on that $50.
Download the app and play $5 to get $50 instantly with code TEAM. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Probably should have told him we weren't real doctors.
Yo, we back at it, man. Mind the game here with Steve Nash, two-time MVP.
Last year you were doing this with a professional podcaster, who now is your head coach.
Two great minds, though. Once again.
For life's beautiful surprises, Amazon Baby Registry is here.
making shopping for your growing family a snap with easy-to-use shopping guides and a checklist. Plus, get a free welcome box filled with goodies. It's easy for friends and family to get you all the things you need for your baby, whether it's your first or your third. Amazon Baby Registry also offers a 15% discount for thousands of baby must-haves. Start your registry now on Amazon.
Heck of a way to kick off NASCAR on Prime. The Coke 600. Gonna be a good Memorial Day weekend. It's red, white, and blue. Never won by you. Crew chief's got to keep gas in the tank, Steve.
Green flag flying here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Y'all the veterans, those that are serving today. Now is why we're here. Now's the time. Let's do it.
NASCAR! It's on Prime! Come on!
Stream the Coca-Cola 600 Sunday. And don't miss the new original series Earnhardt. It's on Prime.
휘징해 가고 있어. 연쇄살인이 왜 일어났고 누가 범인일까 하는 진실 반드시 벌받게 해줄게.
Jack? Jack?
Yeah?
You okay?
Yeah. Sucks in here. I don't like being down here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just like literally, I've just been like not wanting to leave the seat.
Did you feel like something was with you?
Yeah, like between these two pillars right here, that one and that one.
Yeah.
I just kept seeing it looked like the height of a man, and it kept like coming out and like stood there, and then would move back. I literally have just been like sat frozen, like just ignore me, just ignore me, like I just keep saying that in my head.
Well, we have a lot of footage to go through, especially of you down here.
Yeah.
Me upstairs solo, and then every other place we went to in this prison, which is humongous.
Yeah.
So I think it might be a good time to wrap up.
Call it?
Yeah, call it a night, start going through footage.
Okay.
I think this is a place you would have to investigate for 50 years, and you probably wouldn't even have all the answers then. But I think we gathered some objective pieces that we can show Greg and Kathy and the other witnesses here.
What's up, gang?
Hi, guys. Hi.
How's it going? Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right.
How was your night?
It's interesting.
Yeah, it was a really good night investigation. Some things, I'll kind of show you the things that we can't really figure out what the hell they are.
So this is the West Attic. I did a solo experiment up there, see what would happen.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's weird about it is I think the size and shape, it took our attention.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Have you seen something like that before up there?
It was me and 3 other ladies that were up there, and it was a mist that was similar to that, only it was more flat.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. Do you guys ever hear what sounds like exhaling or hissing or?
Yep.
How often do you guys experience that?
We actually got the hissing sound several weeks ago on the 3rd floor west side.
That's where you are.
Interesting. Yeah. Scott and I were over on the west side, and we both heard it.
Oh, did you get that?
Yes. And then we heard it upstairs.
Yeah.
We heard an exhale.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Mike said something interesting to us, that when he was an inmate, you were either prey or predator.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we're thinking about residual especially, or even intelligent spirits, I wonder if part of it is when new people come in, they're sussing you out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are they predator or are they prey? So maybe they hang back a little bit when a new person steps in.
Yeah, I would agree with you on all aspects of what you're talking about with that.
I mean, it was a prison. Bad things happen that shouldn't have happened. And we see so many times tragedy being a connection with a haunting. I just wonder if it's more of the tragedies that have happened here and the people that came through here. If you were given a life sentence or 2 life sentences, would you feel like you could leave?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
Right.
Yeah. Katrina, I was wondering, during that session in the attic, when that mist was coming through, were you feeling anything at that time?
So at that moment, I felt more timid and more sad. And when I'm thinking back on it retrospectively, I wonder if it's that concept that we were just talking about where it was trying to figure me out.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't going to be aggressive to me. It wasn't going to be this nasty, crazy thing. Maybe it was just observing more than anything.
Interesting.
But listen, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you guys giving us the access. It's a pretty cool space you guys have here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being
I'm so
here.
glad you could come out.
Yeah, us too.
Absolutely. Ohio State Reformatory. Thoughts?
It's one of the most iconic haunted locations in all of America, and we just investigated it. And 2 new locations that have never been investigated for TB before.
It's pretty cool. I literally think this place was a hell on earth.
Yeah, oh, for sure. For part of the life of the prison, there were no rights for them.
Yeah. And so this place is, in my opinion, as close to a real-life portal to hell as you're ever going to get.
Yep, amen.
All right.
On to the next. You know, I don't know how you can erase the stains that those type of things leave behind. And I don't ever think this haunting would go away.
Oh, I don't like this.
What are they saying?
It says he doesn't even know what he's gotten himself into. He'll lose his sight for a time, but then regain it. We're gonna f you up. They're targeting you.
Is this place a portal to hell?
This is nuts.
He believes that you're demonic. So this should really piss you off.
Well, we just arrived here in Wilder, Kentucky. What are we doing here?
Well, we're gonna go to Bobby Mackey's.
This place is a legendary honky-tonk bar.
It is probably the most iconic paranormal location that investigators can go to. I mean, it has everything from scratchings and pushings and, you know, just crazy history connected to the place. Possessions. We have a lot of ground to cover. There's some new information that's come up. There's more increased activity lately.
Yep, there's been an uptick.
So I have to go meet with a witness because he refuses to step foot at Bobby Mackey's ever again.
Yep, and then I'm going to go to Bobby Mackey's and I'm going to learn about the property, learn about some of the incidents, and we'll reconvene and conquer.
I think that sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right.
So here's what we know about Bobby Mackey's. Slaughterhouse, bar during Prohibition, gambling hall during that same era, and there were a lot of deaths on the site. Since the 70s, it's been a world-famous honky-tonk bar. Ghost hunting is so common at Bobby Mackey's. They have their own ghost guide. So I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna meet up with Laura. She runs the haunted tours here. Bobby Mackey's.
I'm drinking my coffee black, it's Sunday morning. Too much beam of
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Nice to see you here.
Nice to see you too. Byron might have to mic you up real quick.
Okay, no problem.
Don't worry, he's friendly. Can we dive into some of the history of the place?
Sure. For decades, there have been a lot of different rumors about the history of the location. There was actually a distillery on this property. And the distillery actually did have cattle on the property, but it wasn't a proper slaughterhouse.
So we are investigating the recent uptick in activity. What are some of the things that have most recently been going on?
Well, in addition to people being scratched, things being thrown at them, we've also had people being affected personally when they leave here, as far as taking things with them.
Interesting. It's concerning to me when Laura said that some of the entities here have followed people home. Like, that's my biggest fear about doing this kind of thing. Another rumor that is really prevalent is about satanic rituals that have occurred and have continued to occur. What's the story behind that?
Satanic rituals have been done here on this property out by the river, because the Licking River behind us flows north, and a lot of people believe that has some paranormal, supernatural quality to it. So that attracts people that want to maybe conjure demons.
What's really interesting to me investigating Bobby Mackey's is that all of a sudden this activity has had this increase, and it's been really negative activity.
Why do people call Mackey's portal to hell? Where did that come from?
One, it could be geological, meaning that there's something about the property that Bobby Mackey sits on that's causing this high concentration of energy. And some people in the paranormal believe that that can cause a doorway to open, or people can open doorways. You know, maybe somebody brought over a bunch of people and they decided to have a seance and they accidentally open a door. Or it can be intentional, people practicing magic, which might not have the best intents behind it, and they want certain entities to come through. I'm going to go meet with Dan Smith, who used to work at Bobby Mackey's, and apparently he had this traumatic experience there, so I'm going to go find out if it has any connection to this recent increase in activity. At some point you started going to Bobby's. Was that just for fun or because you heard of the paranormal?
I went there and saw it and started investigating and saw, wow, all the claims are true. And as I got more and more into it, started to make several different contacts with a young child's voice, a young boy. I became really worried about a young child being trapped at this location with all this possible evil. So eventually I crossed paths with Bishop James Long, who I knew had a history with the building and had done exorcisms there. And when I explained what was happening, he pretty much told me, "You've been tricked. There's no children spirits there. And what you're describing is a demonic attachment. If you don't treat it or do something about it, the stages can progress and you could become possessed or worse. These entities inherently know things about you. They know your deepest, darkest secrets. You'll hear responses about that and they'll play it against you."
What happened on that last visit?
We were on break by the bar, and a woman said, "Do you see that?" and pointed out towards the ballroom. And when I turned my head and looked, what I saw was, I got the chills.
Yeah, I can see that on your arms.
What I saw was a man sitting at a table. The creepiest thing was his eyes were glowing white. That night is when things started happening at my home. The sounds of walking and shuffling in the room. I heard footsteps on the wooden floor. And I swear to you, Katrina, they came up to the bed and sat on the mattress.
What do you believe followed you home?
Evil. I had second thoughts about even talking to you because since this was brought up again, I got very depressed and for the first and only time in my life was contemplating suicide.
It's hard to hear when somebody says they become suicidal based off of this stuff because I've seen it countless times. That's where our job comes in as investigators, to get to the bottom of this as much as we can because people are being affected. What words of advice would you give me?
Don't go there.
Don't go.
Don't go there.
So this is the creepy corner. One of the reasons we call this the creepy corner is we get a lot of activity back here. We get a lot of shadows moving around back here. We get a lot of banging noises. We've had bottles thrown in this corner. This is where I saw a full-bodied apparition. He was standing at this end of the pool table. He had his arms crossed in front of him, and I walked across to the bar, and when I looked back, he was gone.
Wow. And there's no one's on radio? Is it the cameras? What do you say? No? Wow, this is nuts.
And you saw an apparition here?
Yeah.
My Mel meter was popping off the charts. We were getting some really erratic and aggressive readings.
The first documented death that happened inside the building happened right over here, where that brown pole is. Two guys got in a fight. A guy got punched. He fell down. He hit his head on the radiator and died on the floor right there.
Oh, wow.
And that was in 1943. This area here used to be a kitchen. But more recently, are you familiar with Carl Lawson?
Wasn't he the caretaker?
He was.
Okay.
He was. And he felt that he was possessed by the evil spirits in this building, and he had an exorcism performed.
Wow.
And I'm going to take you up to his apartment if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, sure, let's go up there. Whoa, creepy.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
So what's the story of Carl?
Bobby hired him. He started doing odd jobs and maintenance work. He felt like things were trying to possess him while he was sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
This bathroom in here, he claimed a demon tried to drown him in the bathtub.
In this bathtub, a demon tried to drown him.
That's what he said, yes.
COPD isn't pretty. From the struggle to breathe, to getting stopped in your tracks. But with Trelegy, I can finally move forward. With 3 medicines in 1 inhaler, Trelegy keeps my airways open for a full 24 hours and prevents future flare-ups. Once daily Trelegy also improves lung function, so I can breathe more freely all day and night.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy for COPD, because breathing should be beautiful all day and night.
The playoffs, where it's make or break for hot takes. Like what Drewski said, he's been ice cold since Paris. What? Or when he tweeted, OKC's playoff experience is mostly group interviews.
I ain't say that.
Seriously, who says things like 40 is too old, just retire?
I'm on vacation, man.
Drewski knows ball. Do you? Put it on Prize Picks. Download the app during the playoffs and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
This bathroom in here, he claimed a demon tried to drown him in the bathtub. He used to barricade the door at night when he was going to sleep because he said from up here, he could hear what sounded like hundreds of people walking around downstairs. You remember where the brown pole is, where I said that the first death occurred. So, and of course for reference, that's Carl, right? So this is the bar area, okay? Somebody took this picture shooting down that way. So we're zoomed in to the white pole, and that's the brown pole, but look right there.
Oh,
Do you
wow.
see that?
Yeah. It's like someone peering around.
Yeah. You can almost see the rim of his glasses.
Yeah.
And some hair. And after you look at that, and then you look at this picture, especially that picture of
Yeah, it
Carl.
looks like that portion of his face.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very interesting capture, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the story about Johanna?
Sure.
The story originated with Carl. When he lived up here, he used to see the apparition of a young woman with long dark hair. She used to visit him often, and she would tell him to go down into the basement and dig. He went down in the basement, started tearing up the floor, and he uncovered the well that's down there now. He claimed to find Johanna's diary, and it told the story of Johanna being a dancer in the early 1930s. She became pregnant. Her father didn't approve, so he had her boyfriend killed, and then she was so distraught that she poisoned her father and committed suicide in the club.
Is there any actual historical evidence of this?
We haven't found any, to be honest. Even if Johanna wasn't a real person, someone or something told Carl to go down there and uncover that well, and that's exactly what he did.
I'm getting a sense of whatever is here is actually an intelligent spirit, meaning one that can actively communicate. What we do know is something drove Carl to go down to that basement and chip away at concrete to uncover the well. And then shortly after discovering the well, Carl experiences a possession. So when you are conducting your tour down here, what's your flow?
We usually go down that way.
Is this normal down here?
Yeah, it's all over the place down here. I'll get the light on in here. Oh.
That was weird.
What?
As I walked in there, I just got this, like, flash in my eye.
Wow.
That was weird. It wasn't a reflection from that, it was like this circle.
Was it a flash of light?
No, it was like within my vision, it just felt like a flash in my eye, like someone just shined a flashlight and turned it off. It was weird, it just kind of startled me.
You want to check out the well?
Yeah.
This is the well right here.
Whoa! So Carl digs up this well, and all of a sudden it's like taking the cap off a can of beer that's been shaken up.
Exactly. He felt that whatever he released from there was coming after him personally. And that's why he felt threatened being in here.
Wow.
Do you ever get any unsavory characters coming through here wanting to do stuff?
I did have a person who brought a Ouija board in. He climbed over the fence, got down in the well, put the Ouija board on his lap, and he had a box of razor blades. And he started slicing his hand and then smearing the blood all over the Ouija board, trying to conjure something up out of the well, which many people believe is the portal to hell.
Wow.
Things that we've had happen, like people being scratched, people having things follow them home, have happened since then. This is where we've had things thrown at us, usually small rocks, and we hear growling quite often. This room is pretty active most of the time.
Interesting, okay. I think there's a possibility of a portal here. It's definitely got some signature activity here, which would lend itself to the portal theory. This place is fascinating and so much history. Why has Bobby Mackey not done much to maintain it?
He actually did try to expand the club. He was actually going to expand the entire building out into the parking lot, and he had actually started some preliminary construction, and all of a sudden a giant crack opened up in the parking lot and went through basically the building. And I think he took that as a sign that they didn't want anybody building, and so he never did. And they had a geological survey done, and he was told that there was a fault line running through the property here.
I know there are fault lines in Kentucky.
There are, actually.
Wow. I've asked Laura if she could gather some people who've all had pretty significant experiences in the last few months. And we're just going to sit around and have them air out their stories and help maybe paint a picture here of what we're actually dealing with.
How are you? Good to see you. How you been?
Great. Welcome to Wilder, Kentucky. Hi, Jack.
How are you? Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Jack. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I think we're gonna have a little chat with some of your customers here.
Okay. Well, I may join you.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
okay,
Hey.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome to it.
There we go.
So we're trying to get to the bottom of why activity seems to have increased lately. You've all had an experience here. Let me ask that, right? Okay. If you can, a show of hands, do you guys think they've been positive experiences with the paranormal? Not one person. Negative experience? Every single person here.
How many of you feel that what you encountered did not want you here?
Well, we were actually here together. We just taken the tour, and we were downstairs, and when we went in there, I started feeling just sick, is the best way I could describe it. I felt like something brushed me, and then I looked, and she was white as a sheet. And I then noticed that part of her hair was actually out, like this, just sticking straight out.
Aside from the hair, when I got home, I noticed the whole way home I was just edgy and crying and didn't feel comfortable, but when I got home I had 3 definitive marks on my left side, right in my rib area. And I didn't feel right for probably 2.5 weeks after.
How many people